Make no mistake about it, Big Blue Nation. Mark Pope just absolutely crushed his introductory press conference.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe. On today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be discussing Coach Mark Pope's press conference. Absolutely knocked it out of the park. Going to talk about what we liked, what we expect from Mark Pope, and going to look into the very near future. A lot of exciting things going on for Kentucky basketball, and I'm so excited to talk about them here with you today. Thank you so much for making Locked On Kentucky your first listen every single day. Want to remind everyone out there that we are free and available on all platforms. And if you are watching on YouTube or listening on podcast, wherever you are tuned in, first of all, thank you for tuning in. If you would subscribe to the show, it would be much appreciated. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed recently and is just now joining Locked On Kentucky. Leave your thoughts about this press conference, please, in the comments below or at Locked On UK on Twitter is where you can find me as well. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. Coach Mark Pope absolutely destroyed his introductory press conference. I mean, absolutely knocked it out of the ever-loving park. If you did not see Rupp Arena, if you were not there or you did not see online what it looked like, it was a madhouse. Thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people outside Rupp Arena waiting to get in for a press conference. That's what this was supposed to be, a press conference. And Coach Mark Pope absolutely took it and made it something completely different. This was a rally. This was just an insane hype-up event for Big Blue Nation. Before he went to his press conference, was outside hugging fans, getting excited with them. People were losing their minds in the streets. It was insane what we were up to. It was incredible to see. It was supposed to start, the press conference was supposed to start at 4:30 Eastern. It got delayed by about, I would say, 10 to 15 minutes because there were still thousands of people waiting to get in outside after the arena had just about filled up. And if you didn't see the videos, it was amazing what Rupp Arena looked like. I'm looking at a picture of it right now on Twitter. Every single seat was filled for this event. Insane output for Kentucky basketball. Really quick note here, just about a player that I think a lot of you will be excited about. Travis Perry, 4-star guard in Kentucky's 2024 class, was here at one point. Mark Pope made a comment about Perry and about how much he and alongside many a player inside the state of Kentucky coming out of high school, what they meant to this program coming to play here. The fans obviously really got hyped up for him. They got hyped up at the mention of Shepard's name, which we will discuss here in just a minute. But all of this buildup, right? You had thousands upon thousands of people coming to see this. All of these different folks in Big Blue Nation getting so excited for Mark Pope to speak to the program before he could utter a word into that microphone. His entrance into the arena was incredible. There was a bus that came in, and out of the bus did not come just Mark Pope, but came Kentucky's 1996 championship team. And then at the very end, after all of the former players got off, there was Mark Pope holding up the trophy, holding up that 96 trophy from the Untouchables for everyone to see. It was electric. It gave me chills. It was phenomenal. There are not enough positive adjectives that I can use to describe what we saw and heard in Rupp Arena on Sunday afternoon. Kentucky badly needed this change. It was such a breath of fresh air to see one of our own step into this program and take it by the reins at the beginning of it to get all of these people fired up and excited about what's to come. Let's talk here for a minute about some of the things that Mark Pope said that really stood out. One of the things that stood out to me was just kind of soaking in the moment, listening to after he got a few words into his press conference, not a few words, like 30 seconds or so into his press conference, and you could hear the chants of "Go Big Blue" just raining out. You could really get a sense, if you weren't watching it, just listening to it, just how large the crowd was for a press conference. It was beautiful. It was amazing. He talked about how important winning was at Kentucky and about how he, alongside his future staff, was not going to shy away from the expectation. He talked about how big of a privilege it was, how important of a privilege it was to play at Kentucky. We'll dive into some of the specifics here, but it was very clear, very, very clear. Everything that Mark Pope had to say confirms what we thought before he got to speak to us. This is one of our own. This is a Kentucky Wildcat through and through, and he's not just a former UK player. He's now our coach, and he understands what it takes. He understands the stakes. He, better than I think maybe any coaching candidate that we could have picked up, understands what Kentucky is about. Something that he said early on in his press conference that I thought was amazing is that he was talking about how the expectation is to win banners. And he said, we're here to win banners in Nashville, and talked about how important the SEC tournament is for you guys that go and support them, the Cats, that is, every single year. Something that Coach Cal never even acknowledged, said that it did not matter, said that he tried to get his players not thinking about that. Obviously, we saw that most notably in this most recent season, where Kentucky did not seem prepared on defense at all to face Texas A&M, a team that statistically was not a good three-point shooting squad, and Kentucky let them light it up from outside the arc. Mark Pope said, no, we're going to put an emphasis on winning banners in Nashville. We're going to put an emphasis on winning banners in the Final Four and in the national championship. Something that he said towards the end of the press conference that I thought was refreshing is that he looks up into the rafters and he sees all of these different accomplishments, all these different banners. And there's so many different banners, it's hard to see room for more. He said, but if I know Mitch Barnhart, I know that he's going to find a way to make room. Incredible introductory press conference. Let's talk a little bit more here about what Mark Pope had to say to the crowd and to Big Blue Nation. Before we dive into that, though, I do want to tell you guys about our friends over at LinkedIn. Whether you are hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role, and that's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs, because LinkedIn Jobs has the right tools to help find professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not just another job board. They help you hire professionals you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites, so if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the wrong place. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, and they're constantly finding ways to make the process easier. You can post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, continuing along here on the Sunday edition of Locked On Kentucky, Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Again, if you have not subscribed to the Locked On Kentucky podcast, whether you are listening on podcast, wherever you are tuned in, Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, iHeartRadio as well, or if you're watching on YouTube, would appreciate it if you subscribed and comment below. Let me know what you thought about this presser. I thought it was a smash hit, and it's got me fired up. Let's talk more about what Mark Pope had to say in his press conference. Obviously, he talked about Travis Perry. He said that he FaceTimed Travis Perry when he was hired and told him to get his arm loose because Travis Perry's going to come in to do one thing, and that's shoot the basketball, lead this team. I loved what Mark Pope had to say about his offense, about how they made more threes than, second in the nation and three-pointers made last season. And he said, and Kentucky does not come in second place. Last year at BYU, he said we were number 4 in assist in the nation. And at Kentucky, we share everything. Loved what he had to say about his offense statistically, and then the X's and O's side of things. We're going to talk about it a ton because I love diving into that stuff with you guys throughout this offseason. This is a bright mind in college basketball, somebody that is coming up in the sport. I think Kentucky made the right hire here, and we're going to talk about just how important his offense and his personnel is going to be in future episodes, but I loved what he had to say today. An interesting quote that I decided to save just to read to you guys here, talking about how much of a privilege it is. He told so many different stories about how impactful Kentucky was to him in terms of teaching him lessons, in terms of seeing other people learn lessons, learning the value of what it is to be a Kentucky Wildcat. He said, quote, "Players are not doing the jerseys a favor by letting them clothe them. Our guys will know quickly that it will be one of the great honors of their life to wear that jersey," end quote. Something that followed it up, quote, "We did not talk about the NBA teams we played for," in reference to former players that he interacts with. "We didn't talk about the NBA teams we played for. We sat in the locker room and we talked about our college basketball teams." Again, it's such a dramatic change of pace from what we are familiar with Cal and the pipeline to the NBA, and how many different players in the NBA liked Calipari and liked what he did for this program and kind of stuck with him in relation to their relationship to the Wildcats. I think this is needed. I've talked about this recently on the show before Pope was even hired. Kentucky needed a guy that would put Kentucky basketball first. I understand that there are players that will go on to have success in the NBA, that will come through this program this season and in coming seasons. And I wish them the best of luck, and I support them, and I hope that they do well. At the end of the day, I'm not pulling for the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm not pulling for the Boston Celtics. I'm not pulling for the New Orleans Pelicans. I'm not pulling for the New York Knicks. I'm not pulling for the Dallas Mavericks. I am pulling for the University of Kentucky men's basketball program. And the kids that come through this program, the young men that come through this program and put their name on the back of that jersey, they are what matter to me in that moment. When they play for us, that is when I am the most supportive. And I think that there needs to be an emphasis put on that in the coming years. We are about Kentucky. We're not about the NBA. We're about Kentucky. We're about Big Blue Nation and what we are all going to do together. That does not mean that you put those kids' futures aside. Absolutely, there are going to be kids that come through here that play well and they go on to illustrious careers in professional sports, whether that be across the seas in Europe, or playing somewhere overseas, or whether that be playing in the G League, or whether that be playing in the NBA. You want to support those players because what they did for you at Kentucky, right? There needs to be more of an emphasis put on us. And I think that Mark Pope really delivered that message well in his press conference. Again, we didn't talk about the NBA teams we played for. We sat in the locker room and we talked about our college basketball teams. Justin Rowland of Rivals, I think, said this very well on Twitter. I don't expect him to mention Calipari by name, but this is a post-Calipari speech. He continued to talk, and he said something that really riled up the crowd. At one point, tongue-in-cheek, he says, "Our job as coaches is we get to be shepherds." And he smirks, and the crowd just went ballistic. And if you listened instead of watched, you could really kind of close your eyes and hone in on what the crowd was chanting. Because at one point, he looks over at Jeff Shepard, and everybody starts chanting, "Read, read, read, read." And it slowly, and Kyle Tucker pointed this out on Twitter as well, just kind of slowly morphed into the crowd chanting, "One more year, one more year. Give Reed Shepard one more year." It is clear the people that are in this town that love Big Blue Nation, that love Kentucky basketball, that love what this is about, they want Reed Shepard back in a blue and white uniform. Is it going to happen? It's going to be very difficult to pull off. I would lean towards no, but Kentucky would go insane for the season opener, home season opener next year, or this upcoming year, if Reed Sheppard were to walk out on that court as a starter. That would be amazing. Let's continue to talk about this. Let's dive into some more things that we thought about from this press conference. Not a single miss from Mark Pope here today. Before we get into some more amazing comments about what this university is about and what the expectations are, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at FanDuel. Ladies and gentlemen, it is playoff time in the NBA. If you are watching this today on Sunday, it's the final day of the regular season for the NBA. NHL is also about to hit playoffs. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets, and that's guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. You can bet on every single thing from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks to buzzer beaters. It is all on an app that is safe, secure, and super easy to use as well. So what are you waiting for? You can visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. That is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. All right, wrapping up the Sunday edition of Locked On Kentucky. Lance Dawe hanging out here with you. Mark Pope absolutely destroying his press conference today, talking about that. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and do so. Really appreciate you guys tuning in today. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You can also hit me on Twitter at LockedOnUK if you want to share your thoughts there. Pretty active on Twitter over these past few weeks. Love interacting with you guys. It's been a lot of fun. Okay, so wrapping up thoughts here about Mark Pope's press conference. More amazing quotes from Mark Pope, talking about the difference between Kentucky and every other program. At one point, he's talking about the difference there. He says, it's not my team, it's not our team, talking about himself alongside his staff and the kids. He says, it's our team, and he points to the crowd and lets everybody know this is not him. It's not about him. It's about us. Everything together is what makes this program so special and so different. Again, it is such a different change of pace from what we've seen over the last few years. 15 years, if you want to call it that, but specifically over the last few years. This is not about one man. This is about an entity. This is about a group. This is about a nation. And I think Mark Pope put it beautifully today, multiple times, talking about how important it is that everybody is in on this together. The fans, the staff, new positions on that staff, potentially. I may add a GM. Yes, please. He said passion wins championships. Passion wins championships. Just a few days ago, Coach Cal said administrations win championships. Mark Pope says passion wins championships. Mark Pope also said about the importance of understanding what it's about to be at Kentucky. It's not about entitlement. It's about gratitude. He said entitlement leads to sorrow and depression. Gratitude leads to joy. He talked about how important it is putting on that jersey, understanding what it's about, being appreciative of the opportunity to be a part of something so special. He talked about the Maui Invitational. He talked about how Kentucky could potentially go back there. He asked at one point, do you guys want to see a game against St. John's? Yes, absolutely we do. After Rick Pitino put that thing out, I said something on Twitter about, you know what? Yes, I would like to see a home and home this year. Let's start the home and home against St. John's and Rick Pitino. Would love for that. And he ended his press conference in a great way by saying he's going to leave the arena. He's going to get on the phone with recruits, which is exciting because, quote, kids are answering a little bit different now when I talk about Kentucky. Welcome to the Mark Pope era. Ladies and gentlemen, I am very excited to get this going alongside all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. Again, I want to reiterate, if you have not subscribed to the channel, it is going to be an electric offseason. Even if Kentucky doesn't get every transfer portal player, even if the roster shakeup is just a little bit more tumultuous than our liking at times, it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be fresh, new. I am so excited to get this going with you guys. Again, comment below. Let me know what you thought about this entire thing today, about the future of the program, and then on Twitter at LockedOnUK as well. So I will see you all tomorrow for another episode. We're going to dive into, by the way, just going to go ahead and give a little bit of a teaser here. We're going to dive into a couple of different transfer portal pieces that Kentucky has reached out to, a center that Kentucky is already scheduled a visit with. That's a really good outside shooter. I am so excited about the direction of this program. So excited. You can follow the show on Twitter at LockedOnUK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDahl_. Follow the show over on Instagram at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.